Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here, talking about 5 cards that used to see a whole lot of play. Well, 4 of them did, but for very long stretches of time. I'm not talking formats, I'm talking, maybe years. We just didn't really play the cards. I mean, some people deemed them as too slow or didn't create enough of an impact, too situational. But now I think in this specific format, they're definitely, they're starting to see a resurgence. A lot of these cards you'll probably notice, kind of out of nowhere, people have started playing again in the last maybe month or 5 weeks or something like that. So without further ado, this is the top 5 throwback cards you should consider playing again, the Yugioh Hierachy. Number 5, Skullmeester. This is a card that came out all the way back in the super horrible set that was Star Strike Blast. I, of course, call it a horrible set, not really because it was a bad set, it's because all the secrets were expensive as fuck, and we can go on the list of Duradarks and all these other cards that have really gotten hyped up and just escalated in price beyond a point that made any sense. So most of you guys, including myself, probably had never even heard of this card prior to maybe like a month ago. It's essentially a DD-Crow with much better stats, except it doesn't banish the targeted card. The major difference between this and DD-Crow, however, is it can actually be used during the damage step, which is, I mean, that right there in itself is just huge. And much like I said before, it's level 4 and 1700 attack, so that's, as far as just being a beater and an XC maker, I mean, that is far beyond what DD-Crow could ever hope to achieve. And lastly, since, we have a world where soul charge is a thing, you can obviously soul charge this card back, which you would almost never do with DD-Crow, and you can make further XC plays. Number 4, Gozen Match. So people used to use this card a long time ago when 6 Samurais were one of the best decks of the format, and then after they died, people pretty much stopped playing it. Gozen Match today is still really good in decks like Bujins and Mermill, Madoche, and Firefist, where your entire deck is made out of one attribute, but the archetype itself is made out of multiple types. I mean, take Bujins for example. The Bujin archetype is made out of Beast Warriors and Winged Beast and Regular Beast, and you can look at Mermill and, I mean, half of them are fish and the other half are aqua, so what's going on with that? You can side this card effectively against the hat deck because hands, artifacts, and trap tricks are all different attributes. Hell, the 2 hands themselves are both different. One's water and the other's fire, so that's not going to work. Or pretty much any deck that attempts to splash in any of these 3 sub-engines that make up the deck of hat. And best of all, since this card says send and not actually destroy, it doesn't trigger the hands. Gozen Match is also really good against Mythic Rulers. All 4 elemental dragons are different attributes, and then the deck is, I mean, it's pretty much comprised of just a whole bunch of random dragons that are different attributes. Blue Eyes is light, and, Tree Dragon is earth, Water Dragon's water, Debris Dragon's wind, so they really can't get anything started. And Sylvans, that's another deck that would get, well, probably crippled by this. Number 3, Noblemen of Crossout. So with Yugioh being one of the top decks of the format and the hands coming into play, setting monsters is obviously a thing. Again, I've talked about that on this channel. Well, this countered that thing, and it stops the hands from ever triggering, which is obviously a good thing considering a lot of decks out there, a lot of times when they know their opponent has a hand card, they have to go for the very risky XC summon, usually Abyss Dweller. And the problem with that is it requires you to actually have the Dweller hit the board, and then it requires an attack from the Dweller or another monster. That's 2 opportunities for your opponent to play 1 card and basically stop everything that you wanted to do there. Well, Nobleman of Crossout basically is just 1 card that takes out the setting of any monster. So now you don't have to worry about making a play based on what you believe that monster to be, whether it's an Ice Hand, a Fire Hand, a Yugioh Armor, a Worm Yagen, whatever. All you have to do is just cross that shit out and keep it moving. So, I mean, this card is obviously good against anything that runs hand cards. It's good against Yugioh, it's good against worms, and so on and so forth. Number 2, Dimensional Prison. So the current mantra in Yu-Gi-Oh is battle traps are bad, and this is exactly why this card is so unexpected in the main deck. I mean, just think to yourselves, how many games have you seen in the last month to where somebody gets like an average size beater on board? I'm talking like 18 to 2100 and basically doesn't even have protection with it, and they're able to get 3 or more attacks out of it because their opponent keeps drawing anti-XC based traps like Black Horn of Heaven and Trap Tricks Nightmare, Bottomless Trap Hole, as the monster on board just sits there and beats their face in. I mean, it happens all too often, and I see games won by, you know, a single Meritech because their opponent just can't do anything. D-Prison is going to be always a 1-for-1 against 99% of monsters in the game. And it stops attacks from just wrecking you. It stops the hands from just wreaking havoc on your board. And the card is super unexpected in the main deck, which is why I really do like it in the main deck. And number 1, Mind Control. So this is one of those ones where I think that people are starting to come back to this card, and I think it's for good reason. For starters, it deals with set monsters, which we've already established in this video and in others is basically like prominent in this format. And usually if you normal summon your typical average level 4 monster and your opponent has a good set monster, you know, like a Yugioh Armor or a Fire Hand or something like that, they generally won't trigger a Bottomless or a Solemn Warning because they know that you can't get rid of their set monster without going through, you know, the process of an Exceed summon. Well, Mind Control basically allows you to circumvent that. Mind Control just says, okay, well, you've got a monster there. I'm going to Snatch Steal it. I'm going to flip summon it. And at any point, if you Solemn Warn me, if you Bottomless, or if you Torrential, if you do anything that stops me from summoning my Exceed, okay, well then I just got a 2-for-2 anyway. But the way that I look at this is, like, the upside is so much higher than the drawbacks. I mean, you're getting rid of your opponent's field presence regardless, even though it is at the cost of your own. But a lot of times, people put their best monster on board turn 1. If you take your opponent to Yamato, that's the best monster they had. If you take your opponent's Yugioh Armor, that's the best monster they had turn 1. So I look at the upside and I'm like, what if your Exceed actually does hit the board cleanly? What if you make a Maestroke, or you're able to make something that has a decent level of protection and your opponent doesn't have an Exceed negating card? The upside is so much huge. I mean, or so much better because you've got your 2-for-2. Your opponent has to waste mad resources trying to kill your Exceed. It's just really, really good. So let me know what you guys think. Maybe there's a card on here that I missed. I kind of considered My Body as a shield, but I thought Skullmaster or Skullmeister is just a little more viable. Thank you guys for watching, as always. Subscribing makes life happy.